What if I told you that a single act of kindness from a woman who had nothing could change the life of a president's son forever? And what if that same act would eventually transform her from a homeless maid into one of the most respected women in her country? This is the story of Grace, a young woman from Accra, Ghana, whose heart was bigger than her circumstances, and Samuel, the son of a billionaire who learned that true wealth isn't measured in money. Grace worked as a house cleaner for the Richardson family, a wealthy expatriate family living in East Legon, Accra. For 4 years, she scrubbed floors, washed dishes, and took care of their mansion for barely enough money to send home to her sick grandmother in the village. Every morning at 4:30 a.m., she would take 2 different trotros to work, a journey that took over an hour each way. Every evening, she would return to her small room in Nima, sharing a compound house with 15 other families. The Richardsons treated her like she was invisible. They never learned her full name, calling her simply the girl or snapping their fingers when they needed something. But Grace never complained. She carried a secret dream that kept her spirit alive. She wanted to become a nurse. In her spare moments, she studied old medical textbooks she found at the second-hand bookshop in Makola Market, learning about anatomy and patient care by the light of a small kerosene lamp. Meanwhile, Samuel Mensah was visiting Ghana for the first time in 5 years. His father was a billionaire oil executive and close ally of Ghana's president. Samuel had just completed his MBA at Oxford and was being prepared to take over the family's African operations. But behind his privileged facade, he battled severe anxiety and felt disconnected from his African roots. His father had sent him to Ghana to reconnect with his heritage and oversee their new mining project. Everything changed on a humid Thursday evening in July. Mrs. Richardson had been hosting a dinner party for her expatriate friends, and in her wine-fueled arrogance, she accused Grace of stealing her expensive perfume. Without any evidence, without even asking for Grace's side of the story, she publicly humiliated her in front of the guests and threw her out of the house. "Get out of my house, you thief! Don't ever show your face here again!" she screamed, throwing Grace's worn backpack onto the street while the dinner guests watched in uncomfortable silence. Grace stood there in her faded uniform, holding her small bag containing her textbooks and a photo of her grandmother. She had 50 cedis in her pocket, not enough for transportation home, not enough for food, nowhere to sleep. As the evening grew darker, she started walking through the wealthy neighborhood where she had worked faithfully for 4 years, but never truly belonged. That same evening, Samuel was being driven back to his hotel after a frustrating meeting with government officials. The business discussions had left him feeling empty and questioning his father's methods in Africa. As their black SUV slowed in traffic near a streetlight, he noticed a young woman sitting on a low wall reading something by the light of her phone, completely absorbed despite her obvious distress. Something about her quiet dignity struck him. Despite being alone and clearly struggling, she sat with perfect posture, turning the pages of what looked like a medical textbook with careful reverence. "Stop the car," Samuel told his driver in Twi. "Sir, this area can be dangerous at night. Please stop the car." Samuel stepped out of the vehicle, ignoring his bodyguard's concerned protests. He approached Grace slowly, not wanting to alarm her. "Sister, are you okay?" he asked in fluent Twi, a language he hadn't spoken since childhood. Grace looked up, startled. Here was this well-dressed young man, clearly from money, speaking to her in their local language with genuine concern. She could have been bitter after what had just happened, angry at all wealthy people, but instead, she managed a small smile. "I am fine, my brother, just reading while I decide where to go next." Samuel noticed the book in her hands was Gray's Anatomy, the pages worn from countless readings. "You're studying medicine?" "I dream of becoming a nurse," Grace replied simply. "I know it seems impossible for someone like me, but knowledge doesn't care about your circumstances." Her words hit Samuel like lightning. Here was someone with nothing, studying by streetlight, still holding on to hope and dreams. Meanwhile, he had every opportunity handed to him and felt dead inside. "Are you hungry?" he asked. "There's a local spot nearby where we could talk." Grace hesitated. "You don't need to help me. I will be fine." "Please," Samuel said. "I think I need this conversation more than you do." They walked to a small chop bar where Samuel, despite his expensive clothes, sat comfortably and ordered banku and tilapia for both of them. As they ate, Grace shared her story, how she sent money home to care for her sick grandmother, how she studied every night, how she believed education could change not just her life but her entire community. Samuel found himself opening up about his own struggles, the pressure from his father, his disconnection from his heritage, his search for meaning beyond money. Grace listened without judgment, offering wisdom that came from real hardship and genuine hope. "Money is like rain," she told him. "If you hoard it, it becomes stagnant. But if you let it flow to where it's needed, it brings life everywhere it touches." That night changed everything. Samuel didn't just give Grace money. He became her partner in transformation. He helped her enroll in nursing school, but more importantly, he learned from her about purpose and authenticity. Grace didn't just accept charity. She insisted on working as his cultural consultant for his father's company, helping them develop community-centered business practices. Within 3 years, Grace graduated as the top student in her nursing program. She opened a community clinic in Nima that provided free health care to over 5,000 people. Samuel, inspired by her example, convinced his father to establish a foundation focused on education and healthcare in underserved communities across Africa. But the most remarkable transformation was personal. Grace became Samuel's wife, not because he saved her, but because she saved him. She taught him that true wealth comes from lifting others up. He showed her that dreams backed by resources and determination know no limits. Today, Grace is Dr. Grace Mensah, holding both nursing and medical degrees. She runs one of Ghana's most successful community healthcare networks. Samuel leads his family's foundation, which has built 47 schools and 12 hospitals across West Africa. Together, they prove that when privilege meets purpose, and when kindness meets opportunity, miracles don't just happen, they multiply. The woman who was thrown out in the rain became the rain that brought life to thousands of others. And the lost son of privilege found his way home by following the light of someone who never stopped believing in tomorrow. Sometimes the person you're meant to help is actually the person meant to save you. Sometimes what looks like an ending is really the beginning of something beautiful beyond imagination.